We made it through another week. Yes. Hope everyone is doing well. We're waiting on folks to join. Cooped Up is my website. You can visit that anytime. I'm Cooped Up is my handle in all of the social places. Would love a follow, particularly on the Instagrams. And wherever you watch or listen to this, it's broadcast on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, as well as rebroadcast in audio format on all of the major podcasting platforms. In case you want to listen to me while you're out jogging or whatever. I think people do that still. You can click the bell, subscribe button, whatever it is, and I would love a nice little follow there. So let's get rolling. So Todd is headed home. Actually, Todd will be home. He's been gone since Sunday. He left Sunday morning early for Munich, Germany. He's been there on work all week. Staying up late. He called me again last night, really late, like party animal or something. But he is currently on a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to I just thought of something. Charlotte, North Carolina to here, because he flew from Munich to Charlotte, North Carolina, had a 3-hour layover, and then is flying to Dallas. I would tell you, lucky him. He told me already he got an upgrade to business class on the way, or first class actually, because I think it's just a 2-class flight on the way from Charlotte to here, which good for him, because I will tell you, those long-ass flights, sometimes the last little short leg, I remember when I came back from South Africa, which is 26 hours en route to get to South Africa. The last part of my flight from Atlanta to Dallas was, again, only like a 2.5-hour flight. It was so painful because you just knew you were almost home. You're just tired of being on the plane, all of that. So, hey, Mama, good to see you. But Todd is on his way home. He should be home. I think his flight lands at like 6:15, so he should be home by about 6:45, 7 o'clock. So I'm going to order dinner, a little charcuterie board for him. I already had lunch today, and I will talk about that in a moment. I cheated so big time on my diet today. It was worth it, though, and we'll get to that in a minute. But and then I'll order a pizza for the kids or something. So anyway, but yeah, so I cheated on my diet today. And when I say cheated, I'm like, my diet is broken today. I'm debating on whether to even continue the diet today. Resume it tomorrow, obviously. Sorry, but I'm still not. My watch is so mad at me too for that, obviously. So I had a groundbreaking for a client today, one of my real estate clients, and we get there, and they always have some sort of catered lunch. But today's catered lunch, y'all, was barbecue. And it smelled so good. And it was from a place called Zavala's in Grand Prairie, Texas, which has made like the top 10 list for Texas Monthly's barbecue list, at least recently, probably many times. So it's one of the top 10 barbecue places in the whole state of Texas, which realistically means it's one of the top 10 barbecue places in the entire planet, because Texas is really the only place to get good barbecue. Fighting words, I realize, but I said what I said. Texas is the only place to get good barbecue. Everywhere else, it's okay. Texas is really good. So people were talking about it, and it smelled so good. And we got done with the whole presentation, the shoveling and golden shovels and all that stuff. And then the line started for the barbecue. Y'all, it looked so good. It smelled so good. It was heavily crusted. The brisket was like coated in pepper, which is like my favorite kind of brisket, where it is so peppery. Like I still have heartburn right now, right here. And that probably also because of my diet. So I had one slice of brisket, but I'm allowed to have lean proteins. There's nothing lean about brisket. It is like the fattiest of the fat meat. The only thing worse would just be the straight up bacon or something, I think. So one slice of brisket, and then a little chunk of burnt ends, which were so good too. Burnt ends are the part like on, if you're not aware in barbecue terminology, it's where the piece, like where you get it and it's almost all like the end piece. And then they slice from the middle part of it. It was so good. And then what else? It had some sausage also. I was hoping for some chicken, maybe to balance it out, but no, they had some sausage that was so good. And then they had pulled pork. I had one of each. Broken. And then for the sides, you can't have barbecue without a side. I admit I did not put sauce on it though, because I actually prefer my barbecue not to have sauce. If it is good barbecue, I don't want it to have sauce on it because I want to taste the meat. I don't want to taste the sauce. Mediocre barbecue, put a lot of sauce on it, but for good barbecue, no sauce. And then of course for the sides, they had coleslaw, yum. They had jalapeno cheesy hominy. So instead of mac and cheese, this place Zavala's, it's supposedly, like, I looked it up, it's only open on Saturdays. So I guess they cater the rest of the week. It's only open on Saturdays, and it's open from like 11 until they run out. And there's a line out the door most days. So it's legit. But they have, instead of mac and cheese, they have jalapeno cheese hominy, which looks like mac and cheese. Oh my God, y'all. It was so freaking good. And then they had barbecue beans, which you got to have. Those smoky kind of borracho style beans. And I think they were more borracho style, not super sugary, which I love that style. And then the only thing I did not eat there's two things I did not eat. They had a baked potato casserole, which looks so freaking good. But I had to ask, does this have sour cream in it? And they said, yes, it does, which means I can't eat it because I'm highly allergic to sour cream. Client event is not where I want to experience stomach cramps and potential shatting in my pants, because that is what happens when I eat sour cream in quantity, especially. So I skipped that. And then they had, this is probably, so of the things I skipped, the thing that was probably the hardest though was they had banana pudding. And oh my God, I love banana pudding with vanilla wafers on it and a little bit of cream. Oh, I'm making myself hungry again. So I got done eating it. I could have skipped the sausage. The sausage was good. It was spicy and it had cheese in it. But I could have skipped that. But the brisket was worth every calorie. And actually the shredded pulled pork was too. Oh, and I didn't eat it. They had tortillas to eat with it, and I did not eat that. Because Zavala's, based on what I could tell, I'd never heard of it before, but based on what I could tell from looking at their website today, as well as what I experienced, is it's kind of Mexican style. Like they serve it with tortillas, and they have like the borracho beans and all of that kind of stuff. What I and the jalapeno thing. What I'm doing right now drives my children nuts. I can't say borracho beans. I have to say borracho beans, and I cannot say jalapeno. I have to say jalapeno and tortilla, because that's how I was raised. I was bullied enough as a kid growing up at being the tallest, whitest, gayest thing south of San Antonio. I've updated that. I used to say tallest, gayest, whitest boy in 3 counties. I now say tallest, gayest, whitest boy south of San Antonio. Because I do believe that's true. I would have been bullied additionally if I were to gringoize the Hispanic words, the Spanish words. So I am like Gloria Campos. I say them all with a strong accent. Carbs and fats don't count on Fridays. I like your style, Zach. Here's what broke my heart the most, though, about breaking my diet today. So I get there, and I am shoveling this food in my mouth, talking to people, and they're like, have you lost weight? You look thinner in the face. Oh my God, Cooper, you look so much thinner in the face. And my shirt's not put, like, the shirt, it's not like grabbing my belly anymore because I've lost enough weight. I weighed in again today. I've lost another couple of pounds. I'm like just slightly above 210 right now. I started this diet. I was pushing 220. I was at 219.8. So I've hit about 10 pounds. I have 10 pounds to go to hit my goal. So I'm halfway there. And then I go blow it so I'm not beating myself up. I'm actually kind of making a big deal about this. I'm not beating myself up because I'll just get back on the diet. But the brisket, the pulled pork, the borracho beans, the jalapeno hominy, totally worth it. I'm regretting a little bit that I didn't just go whole hog. I'm also proud of myself that I did not have the banana pudding. I missed it. Why did you cheat? Why did you cheat with? Or what did you, I think you meant, what did I cheat with? Or how? So, Carrie, I had a barbecue lunch. I was at a client's groundbreaking today for a luxury apartment community in Grand Prairie, Texas. I'm sorry, Farmers Branch, Texas. and they had it catered by Zavala's Barbecue out of Grand Prairie, Texas, which is one of the top 10 barbecue places in Texas, according to Texas Monthly, which means it's in the world. And it was worth every fucking calorie, but now I'm like, regretting it a little bit. I'm still a little heartburned because I will say it had so much black pepper on it, which I love, but it's so much. Like they need to pass out some Zantac or Tums with it too. Would you like some cheesy Tums? Would you like some? Yeah. I think without a cheat meal here and there, you're only setting yourself up for failure, Zach says. Yes, here's the thing though, like on this diet, part of the process, it's similar to keto, where part of the process is that you enter this fat burn. So you have to go through like 4 or 5 days of building up, and then you hit the state of ketosis, this kind of keto thing with fat burning phase, and then you're really raring to go. And that's where the magic happens, right? And so I think if you I don't know, did I knock myself out of ketosis? Well, here's the thing. We will see if this is worth it actually, after all. If it knocked me out of ketosis and I have to go through those first 3 days again, which were miserable, I felt so weak. I hated it. It was terrible. But once I got out of the 3 days, it was like, it just lifted. If I have to go through that again, that's going to teach me not to cheat. Otherwise, yeah. So, yeah, so that was that. And then what else did I have? Oh, let's just keep on the food thing. Got our reservation at the Zodiac Room for Christmas. So Eric and I are going with some friends, like Christmas, not Christmas Eve, like the day before that, the 23rd. And then I decided also to book it for my employee, my team Christmas dinner, which is on my birthday. We're having it on my birthday this year, December 14th. So if you want to go to Neiman's Zodiac Room, which Carrie, I realize you can't this year because you will be where? You will be in England, right? Carrie's going to England for 2 months, by the way. It is open and you can book it on Open Table, which is the best thing ever. You used to have to call and you have to catch them at the right moment, and they'd have to be like a little negotiating because they're like, do you have it at this time? No. Do you have blah blah? And here's the thing that I really, really am happy about on Open Table is that they opened it up where you can make it for reservations for like 8 or 10 people. I did it for 6. But I could have kept going, and usually restaurants limit your ability to make reservations that large on Open Table. So I was very, very happy about that. Let me see, but it looked like from what I saw, like on December 14th, my birthday. Take note. It seemed like all of the reservations were still open. So it's Christmas tradition. I know we will carry on without you. Struggle is real. I love the Zodiac buffet at Christmas time, though. It is so good. They have these pork lollipops. What do you call them? Like pork chop lollipop kind of things that are so good. They have the rack of rib or the rack of lamb that is so good. They have everything is so good. I love it. So good. And then you have fun little drinks, all that. So Carrie's like, oh, they did it on Open Table because I tried to book us last year and they wouldn't go higher than 6 people. Yeah, it looked like it to me. Lamb lollipops. That's what they're called. They're so good. I love them. Yeah, I love Open Table. Let me tell you, if it's not on Open Table or Resy, I feel like the bougier restaurants tend to go to Resy. And I don't know that it's for any reason other than they just feel like that's what bougie people do. They don't want to be amongst the plebeians on Open Table. But those two are the main ones. Here's the other thing. Pro tip on a restaurant also. I've done this before for restaurants where I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get it, and it was successful. If you go to Google and you type in the restaurant name and it pulls up that little bar on the side of the screen and it pulls up the restaurant, it says, and then it might have a little button that says make a reservation or book a table or whatever like that. If you do that and you do it and it shows you all of the different times, that is Google actually calling the restaurant. It's like their concierge service. They actually call the restaurant, because I've done it when the restaurant was closed and they're like, we tried and they weren't open, so we'll try again. So Google actually calls the restaurant. I don't know if it's automated or human or whatever, and they make the reservation. And I don't know if they hold back reservations for Google or what, because the times that I've done it, it always works, even if it's not a restaurant that is easy to get into. Where did I use it? I used it on something that was, I feel like it was like when like Restoration Hardware first opened their restaurant, but it wasn't that, but it was something similar to that, where it was like a new place. I think it was Carbone, which was like their little garden restaurant next door. They're not the fancy one, but it was like the hottest ticket in town, and I got in on that with that. So anyway, so now that I have my reservations, I'm telling you all about it. Book your Zodiac room via OpenTable. And actually, is it called Zodiac Room still, or is it just called the Zodiac? Because I can't remember now. I feel like I've seen it both ways. But that one downtown is the best at the mothership. What else? The traffic today, y'all. When I was coming back from at about 1 o'clock, 1:15 from where were we? Farmers Branch. Shit, I can't think of the name. Coming back from the traffic. I don't know if it's because school was out today for Fair Day, or if it's because it's a really nice day and it was Friday afternoon and everyone was taking the day off, or everyone who works from home on Fridays, because we typically do, but we had this event today. But typically so maybe people are out and about, because yes, strawberry pop, they're so good. Oh, they're so good. And you know what? I bet they're not even that hard to make at home, but they just wouldn't taste the same. Gotta have them at Neiman's. I have I don't know that Todd has been to the Zodiac Room like one time, and it was such a traumatic experience for him, and I'll tell you why. I was like I worked downtown. I was like in love with Neiman Marcus. I bought like all the Christmas presents there. I was buying clothes there. I was eating at the Zodiac all the time. Loved it. It was like living my best like Carrie Bradshaw life down there. And so then I was like, Todd, we should go. And so Todd and I go with my late best friend Brian. We go and we're sitting there. And backstory is we're trying to buy this house. We saw this house. We made an offer. We were in like the due diligence part of it. And we had a mortgage broker, our friend Jarrett, who owns a mortgage brokerage company or whatever. I don't know what you call it. Was helping work on trying to build the loan for us and all that kind of stuff. And it was a stretch of a house. When we bought this house, it was a stretch for us, but we knew it was good equity. We knew it was like way in. We bought it for like 60% of its list price because it sat on the market for so long. And then, and it needed a lot of work. And we also knew that this area was on the upswing, but it's since tripled in value. But so we were doing that, and this was at the end of Christmas. So the Zodiac Room had stopped doing their buffet, and it was back to normal menu for lunch. It was like on a Saturday, and we're sitting there, and we get a call from Jarrett. Todd gets the call, and he's like, oh, I understand. And Todd suddenly is like, darts eyes at me, like he like wanting to murder me. Like, what? Okay, yes, all right, bye. Hangs up the phone, and he's like, we're never going to get that house. My husband tends to go to hyperbole. In this case, he was right. It goes to hyperbole, and it's like, we're never going to get this, blah, blah, blah. Cooper, your credit is shot. And I'm like, what? I'm always in like the high 7s, low 8s. Like, how do I have bad credit? And he's like, you missed your payment on your Neiman Marcus card. And I always pay with the exception of some big credit cards that I had, like coming out of college and when I moved offices one time, I pay off my credit cards. I have like zero debt still right now. And I'm like, how's that possible? It's like, I don't know, but your credit is shot. It dropped because I don't know if you know this, the most important part of your credit report is your payment history. And the more recent it is, the more it affects your credit score. So my credit score dropped. I think at the time it was in the high 7s. It dropped like 790s or something. It dropped into, what did it drop to? I think it dropped into like the 600s, like 300 point free fall from December of whatever year that was, December 2000, I think it was December 2007 to January 2008. It free fell like 300 points. And I destroyed our dream. We were already in the adoption process. Like this was going to be our dream family home, all that kind of stuff. And I just ruined it all. It was the worst. Oh my God. And of course, we're sitting at Neiman Marcus. Well, that's the cherry on top. That's the irony of this whole thing. So we are sitting in Neiman Marcus eating when we get the call that we can't get the house because I fucked up my Neiman Marcus card. So wait, you're sitting, yes, exactly. On a card that was fucking you at the same time. 100%. That is exactly. And also, why is it the department store can never just call you like, hey, you want to make a payment? Here's the thing. So then I went into investigative mode. I was like, what happened? How did I miss it? All of that stuff. I transposed a number in the payment. And I think for that reason, whatever reason, I was just making a minimum payment that month because I was just needing to, I know what it was. I was so busy that because it was trade show season and all that stuff, I just made the minimum payment because I hadn't figured out where, and it was a big Christmas bill, I'm not gonna lie, where the money was going to come from, how I was going to do it. And I was like, I'm just going to punt it across the line. Bad sports reference. I know that didn't make any sense, but I'm just going to make the minimum payment. And I do this sometimes. So to say I never carry debt is a lie. Sometimes if I'm just like out of time or whatever, I'm just like, make the minimum payment, just stay okay and whatever. So I did that. My minimum payment, let's say it was $63. Well, I accidentally paid $36. I transposed the numbers in the minimum payment required, and I underpaid it by like half. But like $30 difference. Like it was like, again, instead of it being 60 something, I paid 30 something. Transpose the numbers, and that is what it was. And it caused my credit to drop. At the time, Neiman Marcus was fighting with their credit card processing company, which was Barclays, I believe. They were fighting, and they were about to shut the cards down. There was this period where they were just like really at odds with each other. And so I tried to get it like appealed. I tried to write to the credit card company, and they're like, sorry, there's nothing I called. There's nothing we can, I literally cried. Sorry, there's nothing. I know it's bad, but there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. So I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I had a great history with them, all that kind of stuff. So I finally wrote to the CEO's office, and this is a pro tip. I know this now because it works at Todd's company too. If you write, and I wrote a letter to the CEO's office of Neiman Marcus explaining the situation that we were in the middle, and I was pouring it on thick. We were in the middle of an adoption. This was going to be our family home. I made a simple mistake. They can look at my credit record and see that this is the only like negative mark that I have on it. And then someone told me about, there's a specific question or phrase that I used. It was like, can I get a one-time courtesy rescission or something like that? That wasn't the phrase, but there was a certain phrase that you could use. And so I asked for that kindly, like groveling. And basically they send it to the credit report saying it was a mistake. We're fixing it. In the meantime, by the way, I had paid off the credit card. Like I brought my balance back down to zero. And so we were all good. And this was like 2 months, 3 months later, right? And so I get a letter in the mail like another month later or something like that. So we're well into like May at this point. And I get a notice that I was successful, that they had done this reversal, rescission, whatever it was called, on my credit report. And they were letting them know that it might take a month or so for the credit reports to catch up. But it wasn't. Sure enough, my credit shot right back up. In the meantime, and here's the most delicious part of this story. In the meantime, the house had dropped $200,000 in price. I kid you not, dropped $200,000 in price. And then, because they were just trying to dump it, because the people who owned it already had a house down the street. We're friends with them now, but we weren't for a while because they had to bring money to closing. But down the street, and they just wanted to dump the house. And so they dropped it $200,000. We then made an offer. We lowered it another like $60,000, and we got the house because of my $30 mistake. Greatest investment ever. Because of my $30 mistake, we saved $260,000 on our house. Yes, I kid you not. That's like a third of what we paid, what we would have paid before, what we paid then. So isn't that crazy? So Todd tries to act like I'm so irresponsible sometimes, and I'm like, bitch, I saved us $250,000 on the price of this house with a $30 bet. How's that? Send me to Vegas. Ask me. I'm the fucking Warren Buffett of Kessler Parkway in this case. I love when stuff like that happens. I know. Thank you, Mom. Much to the chagrin of Todd, I know. He's like, ugh. It's delicious irony. It's almost as delicious as the strawberry butter on the popovers. Yes. But I miss the days when Neiman's used to call you. And I guess we're not in that time anymore where you would have, because I even had a shopper who was helping me there and all that stuff. She would call me up and be like, hey, I got this, or you want these shoes, or these look, I think you would love this, that kind of stuff. Granted, she was trying to sell me stuff, but yes. So, all's well that ends well. Hell, that's like college tuition right there for I saved us college tuition for at least one of our children. Maybe both of them, right there. So, yes. Anyway, isn't that funny? What else? In the paper today, totally different, not Neiman Marcus at all. I'm talking about a Walmart in McKinney, Texas at the moment. At the Walmart in McKinney, Texas, it was in the paper today, they found an urn full of ashes in the craft section, and on the back of the container, it said Mom's Ashes. Someone left it in the craft section at the Walmart in McKinney, Texas. And I am I'm wondering, so the police are like, we think that they set the ashes down and that they were looking for an appropriate size container to put them in, and then just didn't realize that they had left them there. But then no one has shown up. No one claimed them missing, and no one has shown up to get them. I call bullshit on that whole story. Because number one, if you get ashes, I've seen what my dad's ashes look like. I know what the box looks like, all of that kind of stuff. I bought a new box for him. Bitch, get a measuring tape. You can get a measuring tape and take it to the Walmart. And why are you doing that in the craft section? The craft section isn't where you buy a box to put your mama's ashes in. I think someone, literally, the woman, I think as a joke or as maybe sincerely, was like, she just loved Walmart and she loved the craft section so much that that's where she wanted to be left. Or my mom thinks it's a prank. Yes. Or maybe it's not even her ashes at all. Maybe it's just like some fireplace ashes or some barbecue pit ashes in a box and it says Mom's Ashes on the back. And now they're like wanting to see what happens with the news coverage and how the McKinney Police Department reacts and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, what a glamorous resting place. Either that or mother must have been a frugal bitch who loved to craft. That's what my thing is. It's either a prank or it was her last wish to be left in the craft section at Walmart. That's what I think. So Mom wanted her ashes at the craft section. That's exactly, Sandy. That's what I'm saying. Did you know that there are numerous people who want their ashes? Well, also, actually, back to that. Remind me to get back to Disney World. There are numerous... if you are there with your mother's ashes, and it is so sentimental that you're going shopping with her and all that shit, there's no way you're leaving her. That's just not possible. Like, you're not in the state of mind where you're leaving. You can't leave your mama at home, but you're going to leave her in the craft section at the Walmarts? No, I don't think so. And if you're leaving your ashes at a Walmart's, you call it the Walmart's. That's the way country people say it, the Walmart's. I don't say it that way. I jokingly, I do. But if you live in the country, it's the Walmart's. That's how my grandma used to say it, all of that. You know your country also if your grandma's name is Mamu, as we called mine. That woman right there, actually, right there, Mamu. Yeah. But did you know that a lot of people try Oh, and it's Walmart's. Sandy, it has to have the before the Walmart's, the HEBs, the Bells, all of that. You also know your country if you have a Bells in your town. So a lot of people want their ashes left at Disney World, and it is so prevalent and so bad that there are special code. You can't do it. They don't allow it, and there are people watching out expressly for that to happen and for cleanup, and they have a whole process, and you get kicked out and banned for life if you try to do it and all that kind of stuff. And there's no, I mean, literally they have like cameras on the spots where people tend to do it, watching just for that. It's crazy. So Monica, I will not go to jail for you, even if it's Disney jail. We are not spreading your ashes at Walt Disney World. Let me see. I've got other topics I can address later. One other just random thing. So I'm driving the kids after school on Fridays. We always go to the really nice 7-Eleven in our neighborhood. After school, pick them up. We go. They get Slurpees. There's like a smoothie machine that Mason gets his mango smoothie from. Claire gets an icy. We get a little candy or something. That's kind of our treat to end the week. I usually pick up some wine because they have a whole wine section, it's a cutout. You walk into it like a wine cellar at this Walmart, or at this 7-Eleven. It's that nice. And so we are driving there, and in the median on Sylvan Avenue, like right at 30, there are a bunch of old ass people with picket signs saying "Say no to nukes," and they keep switching sides of the street they're on. Is there something I don't know about? Like, say no to, like, why would 20 people be protesting, all elderly pretty much, to say no to nukes? Like, why? Sorry, I was getting all choked up about that. Say no to nukes. Like, why would they do that? Like, are we under, I know that we're under like fear that Putin is going to use nuclear bombs, which, by the way, I grew up saying nuclear. I'm not going to lie. When George W. Bush got raked over the coals for saying nuclear, I thought he was right. I didn't realize that it wasn't nuclear. It's nuclear. I'm like, are we to the point now where we're protesting in Dallas, Texas, in front of a 7-Eleven in the median of the road? One of the ladies was so old, she tried to walk across the street. She couldn't even step on the curb. Someone had to help her up, and she almost got hit by a car. So I say no to that. Anyway, alrighty, well, that's all I got. I can revisit all the rest of it next week. Let's see. I know I saw some comments that I missed. Carrie's back to the Neiman Marcus thing. Listen, I've never had anything bad happen from writing a letter. Only good. You take the time, it pays off. I agree. And actually, I didn't finish that story. Most CEOs of major corporations have a dedicated customer service person that is dedicated to dealing with the issues that get elevated to the CEO's office. So writing to the CEO of a major corporation, that letter gets handed off, that email gets handed off. Letter is more important. Email still works, but letter is also good. It gets passed on to a person expressly from the CEO's office, or the C-suite office at least, to deal with them. And a lot of the times they get more favorable outcomes, because if the CEO reads it and thinks enough of it to pass it on, because a lot of times the CEO's seen it first, if thinks enough to pass it on, then everyone's like, oh shit, Bob wants us to do this, so maybe we should do it. Yeah. So I'm Todd's good luck charm. Thank you, Judy. I tend to think so too. Did you see, Zach is asking me, did you see the two fuckers that threw tomato soup at the Van Gogh sunflower painting and super glued their hands to the wall? What? So is the painting at least covered like the Mona Lisa was when the guy tried to throw paint on it? Is that the new protest thing, to just throw shit at random paintings? Like, is that, like, what does sunflowers have to do? What are they are they protesting nuclear bombs also? And what does sunflower have to do with it? Like, that's just stupid. And super glued their hands, idiots. Okay, one more story real quick. I know, Mom, you've already done the kissy face. One more story. I used to work, my internship in college was at this PR firm called Meltzer and Martin, which doesn't exist anymore. I don't believe. It didn't, and then it came back. Oil is what they were protesting. And so I worked at Meltzer and Martin, and the office manager, her name was Lydia, I think. Lydia was a big, like, vocal member of the PETA, people for the ethical treatment of animals. That's what PETA stands for. And so she was a strict vegan, vegetarian, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if vegetarian, vegan. I'm pretty sure vegan. And she got arrested all the time. Like on Mondays, she'd miss half the time because she was throwing paint at women coming out of Neiman Marcus wearing their furs, all that kind of stuff, right? Like she was one of those people throwing the paint on the furs kind of thing. Very, very militant. I remember being in the office one time, though, where she was on the phone, and then all of a sudden I hear this blood-curdling scream, and it's Lydia. She is screaming down the hall, "Oh my God, oh my God." And then she starts barfing into a trash can, just straight up barfing into a trash can. And we're like, "What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong?" And she's like, "A friend of mine just called, and I found out that the Mexican rice from Taco Cabana actually has chicken stock in it. They make it with chicken stock." And we're like, "Oh my God," because she's vegan, so she must have been vegan. So that was like against her values, and she thought that they marketed it as vegetarian or something, or she thought it was vegetarian, and it turns out it actually had chicken stock in it. I don't know if it still does, but it did at the time. So then she proceeds to say, and we're like, "Oh my God, did you just eat it? Like, is that what you had for lunch today? Is that what you had yesterday?" "No, I haven't had it in weeks." So she is vomiting because she ate something at some point, unknowing to her. Chicken stock also, by the way, is chicken stock. That's like, how do you make chicken stock? Isn't that where they just take the bones that other people have eaten, or not eaten, but cut meat off of and stuff, and then they boil it, and then it's just like it's the soup juice kind of from the bones boiling. Isn't that what that is? Anyway, over the top, Lydia was screaming like she had been murdered, and then barfing into like her office trash can, like in the office, because that, yeah. Really? Carrie is like, "Oh my God, we had to deal with that bitch when Taco Cabana was our client, and it was listed in the ingredients." She's still around? Because I'm telling you, that was in college. That would have been in 1990. That would have been in fall of 1996 when I had that internship. So, man. So she's still pushing it, man. And it was listed, Carrie saying, listed on the ingredients. You and I are going to have to talk about that separately, because I had no idea. Isn't that crazy? Like, that is my story. And then Carrie saying random acts of defacing things has become a thing recently. Restaurants, museums, installation. Crazy. Why are people doing that? So anyway, I think I caught everything. Oh, and Carrie is saying about writing a letter. They're called executive admins and mail it in. We'll stick out like a sore thumb. It's just which is what you want. Yes. At Greyhound, where Todd works, I believe that they have they pass it off to customer service. But yes. Either she or another vegan named Lydia. I'm sure it's the same one. Certainly. I can't imagine that it's not the same one, unless that's a real popular vegan name these days. So, Erin, are you watching? Erin is vegan. Is that in your newsletter? Is she like the editor of the Vegan Times of North Texas? I don't know. So, alrighty. Well, with that, for real this time, I'm going to say goodbye. I love you. It's important that you are loved. I love that you watched this. Thank you so much. And I'm not having dinner tonight. I'm going to have one of my little space food packets, trying to get back on the diet. I did buy a tiny little box of wine when we were at 7-Eleven, so I might just have one of the little boxes of wine. But you didn't hear me say that. Why do I have to say everything I know? A real popular vegan. I mean, that does track, Zach, doesn't it? Alrighty. I will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday at 4:30 for another episode of Cooped Up Live. Should I say, talk to you later. Bye. And if your name is Lydia and you worked at Meltzer and Martin, I'm talking about a different Lydia. It's not the same one. Bye.